I'm becoming more and more convinced that most of the issues that threaten and disrupt our community, the things that we worry about and the problems that seem insurmountable, I'm convinced that the best thing that could help us is if we could just figure out a way to become a community of great neighbors. And I know that lots of people disagree with me, because when most people in Orange County identify a problem, they'll go to the government or other community leaders and they'll say, here's a problem, and could you please start a program or something to fix it? But look, it's not working anymore. I am convinced that community, relationships, just learning to love our neighbors will become way more effective than any program, because it forms a support system that becomes organic and ongoing. When neighbors are in relationship with one another, think about what happens when we're good neighbors. The elderly gets taken care of by their neighbor who's looking in. I mean, people who are discouraged and lonely in our community get support. People who are feeling purposeless feel a bigger mission. I mean, think about all the other little details. Think about that at-risk kid who's going to get mentored by a family that lives around the corner. What if the most effective solution to a lot of big insurmountable problems in our culture, from racism to the opioid epidemic to suicide, what if the best solution looked like people like us just starting to learn how to be good neighbors? And I've got to be honest, this is a little bit embarrassing because I'm one of the leaders at a Christian church, and we happen to live in a country with a long history of, I hate to admit it, but we've forgotten what Jesus taught. You might happen to know the great commandment. Jesus says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And here it is, love your neighbor as yourself. Or think about Galatians, where the Apostle Paul says it really simply. I mean, how do we forget this? He said the entire law is summed up in one single command. Here it is, love your neighbors as yourself. Love your neighbor. I mean, could it be that simple? Like, Jesus is put on the spot, pick one commandment that is more important than all the others, and then he tells us what it would take to change the world if only we would just do it. So we're spending this summer at Goshen Church talking about community, relationships. We're going to learn how to be good neighbors, and I want to invite you to be part of this conversation. Community is a mess worth working at, and its work is a mess. I mean, people are way more broken than I want to admit. But I'm convinced that making this mess, working at community, is a worthwhile work. And if you and I could learn how to be good neighbors, I don't want to oversell it, but the truth is, if you could learn how to be a good neighbor, you might just change the world right here.